My in-laws stole my wife's belongings after she died, sued me for son's custody, so I cut them all financial support. I'm 45 male, dealing with a heartbreaking chapter in my life after losing my wife in a tragic car accident. She was driving home with our son when the crash happened. My son survived but was severely injured, while my wife passed away after a day in the hospital. That was the hardest moment of my life. I didn't have the time or space to properly mourn because my son needed me. He had a major limb surgery that same day. He's only 11, and we couldn't even tell him what had happened to his mom, as doctors warned that the news could worsen his recovery. Even in his semi-conscious state, he kept asking about her, so I stayed strong for him as much as I could. The poor soul didn't even get a chance to bid farewell to his mother. It was very difficult for me to be with my son at the hospital when my wife's funeral was being conducted. I was merely a guest at her funeral because I had to attend my son. My in-laws took charge of the funeral and I let them do so. I gave them the check to cover the expenses. I'm sorry to bore you guys with elaborate details. I've been through this enough. I lost my wife. My son just barely survived it. Instead of supporting me through this difficult time, my in-laws invaded my house and gave me a tough time. I need a place to vent out, so I'm here. Please bear with me. After my son's surgery, when I came back home, I found my in-laws, mother-in-law and sister-in-law, had taken away my wife's jewelry and some of the precious things she owned. I was shocked at that sight. How could they take away my wife's possessions from my house, and that too in my absence? I asked them why they did so. They said it was of their daughter, so they are entitled to have it. I pushed them to give me back that stuff. My wife is survived by a daughter and it would pass to her. I have a son 11 and a daughter 9. My in-laws' reason was that I would remarry and give those precious stuff to my second wife. I told them I had no such intention, but they refused to accept it. My son was still at the hospital, so I delayed taking any action against them at that time. I waited for him to recover and be discharged. It took him a month to be discharged after multiple surgeries and physiotherapy. After that, I went to my lawyer to discuss the case. He asked me to search the house thoroughly and list down all the missing items. My wife's entire jewelry box was missing. It had her jewelry and the family heirlooms that she had inherited from her grandmother, but the most precious one was the trust fund documents which she had inherited from her uncle. My wife was a nurse, and she was very close to her uncle. When he got paralyzed, she took great care of him. When he was on his deathbed, he willed his trust fund to my wife. The same was true for her grandmother. My wife regularly visited her, did medical checks for her grandmother, and nursed her during her final days of life. So her grandmother gave her the family heirloom jewelry. I gave the details to my lawyer, and he sent a legal notice of demand to my in-laws. They refused to give back my wife's stuff to me. It amazed me to see how they changed their colors. I was always on good terms with my in-laws. My wife was particularly close to her mother, and I also respected and treated her the same way. My sister-in-law was also very loving towards my wife. My wife was the youngest of the siblings. I don't know how they had suddenly changed after her death. In response to my lawyer's demand notice, my in-laws challenged the demand on the grounds that the family heirlooms owned by my wife should stay with them and not with me. The case is still on, and we are yet to get hearing dates. My lawyer has assured me that he will get me back my wife's belongings. I really love my wife. It hurts me so much to see her own family inflicting pain on us. I really want her belongings to come back to us so that my children can inherit them. I don't know how good are my chances. My friends are skeptical about this. They say that my in-laws have a valid point that I might remarry and give my wife's belongings to my new wife. I don't know if the court considers that point while giving the judgment. How can they assume something which is not yet done? Currently, my mental state is very pathetic. It is already so difficult to come to terms that I have lost my loving wife. Fighting a legal battle at this time is so much more stressful, and on top of all these, I have 2 small children who had lost their mother. It is very difficult for them to move on. I can never match the love and compassion which my wife had, but I'm trying my best to be a good father. I hope I come out stronger from this situation. Update 1. It's not easy being a single dad. It is indeed very difficult to juggle work and my fatherly duties. During my son's stay at the hospital, I was completely off from my work. Thank my business partner and my senior employees were able to sail the boat in my absence. Even after my son's recovery, it has been difficult. It's not only about the household chores. The children need me more than ever. I had to give them enough emotional support to overcome the loss. It was particularly very difficult for my son to accept the reality because he didn't even get to attend his mother's funeral. Also, he blames himself for the accident. He said that he was being chatty with his mother and distracted her from focusing on driving. I'm taking them to therapy to help them recover from this emotional loss. Even after my demand notice, my in-laws did not return my wife's asset and instead decided to go to court. Mother-in-law called me and said she holds no malice against me. She just wants to ensure that her daughter's possessions don't go to the wrong people. I asked her in the absence of my wife who was the right owner of that stuff. I thought she would say my children, but instead she named my sister-in-law. How on earth is my sister-in-law the right owner in my wife's absence? She said she didn't want to hurt me, but she was forced to go to court because I was not understanding her point. I said it was fine by me and let the court decide the rightful owner. On the occasion of Thanksgiving week, my children were upset and missed their mother terribly. Mother-in-law called me to invite me to Thanksgiving dinner with the children. I didn't want to meet them, but I didn't want to rip off my children's happiness. They were close to their granny and their uncle, my brother-in-law. They were really happy with the invitation. I told mother-in-law that I had office commitments to take care of, so I would drop off the children at her place in the morning and pick them up the next day. But she insisted I join them for the dinner, even if it was for a couple of hours. I said, okay, I'll see. I dropped the children at her house in the morning and came to the office to wrap up my pending work. I had no plans for joining them for dinner, but when my children called and insisted, I decided to show up for a few hours just for my children's sake. I had not informed my children about the ongoing legal battle between us. They're too small to understand this. They're just 11 and 9. I don't want to manipulate them and make them hate their granny, uncle, and aunts. The dinner was smooth. We spoke of general stuff, but nothing regarding the case because my children were present. After the dinner, my brother-in-law took them out to an ice cream parlor. I was about to leave, but my mother-in-law insisted that she wanted to talk to me about something. I said if it was about the case, then I was not in the mood to discuss that. Let the court decide the matter. She held my hands and said she had always treated me like her own son and was like, I trust you, but you never know whom you might end up dating or marrying. If she took away my daughter's belongings, it would be gone from the family. I'm just protecting her reminiscence. I said I have always reciprocated the same love and respect to her, and she should also trust me that I won't let her daughter's memories be taken away from the family. It was a deadlock conversation. I said we'll discuss this later. She insisted on not having any malice for them. I said I didn't have any and left. The next day, I went to pick up my children. I didn't go inside. I didn't want to have that conversation again. I trust my lawyer and the judiciary to safeguard my children's interests. We'll update after all these are over. Update 2. The situation has become very ugly with my in-laws. It was an ugly court battle and I had almost given up on winning until I got something from my wife's bank locker. So almost 3 months after my wife's demise, I got an intimation from her bank that the locker fee was due. It used to get auto-debited from her savings account, but after her death, I closed those accounts. I didn't even know about the locker. I visited the bank and got the access to it. The locker had my wife's will. It was not a formal document, but she had handwritten it and placed it safely inside the locker. Initially, I thought that it was a letter, but in the locker log, the document was named will paper. There were some other official documents, but nothing of that significance. I showed the will to my lawyer and he was delighted. He said that this paper has made our case very strong. My wife had mentioned that document to be her will in the bank locker. She had mentioned very clearly that all the jewelry she owned would go to our daughter, except the sapphire ring which would be of my son's wife and the trust fund would be inherited to my son. There was no confusion at all. I didn't tell anyone about the locker thing, especially my in-laws. On the date of the court hearing, when my attorney presented my wife's will, my in-laws were red-faced. They alleged it to be a fake document, but we had enough evidence of the bank locker to prove it to be legitimate. The court gave the verdict in our favor, and my in-laws were asked to return the items they had taken from my house. It wasn't this smooth. It took a few more hearings for the court to give this judgment. As per the court's ruling, the items were returned back to me. My mother-in-law was upset that I didn't tell her about the will. I said I was not supposed to reveal that. It was nothing personal. I just wanted to secure my children's future who rightly deserved my wife's belongings. She stopped talking to me. I was expecting her to call us on Christmas Eve or New Year's, but she didn't. My children wanted to meet their granny and were upset that she didn't invite us. Actually, I lost my parents at an early age, so my children have my mother-in-law as the only granny. They love her, and I don't want to separate them from her. I told them that she might be busy. I took them out for a picnic and the three of us enjoyed the festivities. I don't know what my mother-in-law is up to. I think she also needs some time to get over the loss of her daughter. I hope things get better in the long run. Update 3. Guys, it's not getting any better. The situation is going further downhill. It was only a month later of the court verdict that my mother-in-law again sent a notice claiming the custody of my children. Can you believe this? She wanted the custody of my children. On what basis? She claimed that I was not taking good care of them, not giving them time, leaving them alone at the house, neglecting them, and whatnot. After the papers reached me, my mother-in-law called me. I was just so annoyed by her call. I picked up the call to see what she had to say. She gave her classic dialogue. Please don't have any malice for us. We are doing this just to safeguard our grandchildren's interest. They are in their development years and need to be taken care of. They can't be left alone in the house for such long hours." I said, if their intentions are genuine, they can volunteer to take care of my children without the custody. She had no answer, just ifs and buts. I said I was done with them, and now whatever we discuss, it would be through our attorney. She started sobbing that I was being rude and mean to her. I said I was in the best of my behavior after what she had said to me. She was saying something, but I hung up the call. I rushed to my lawyer. He said it was all because of the trust fund money and their heirloom. They had no good intentions behind this. He asked me not to indulge in any separate talks with them. All the conversation should happen through him. I won't get the details of the legal war to defend my children's custody, but it took me more than 4 months to win the case. It was very draining. I had to tell my children about the custody battle because their statement was supposed to be recorded to prove that I was not negligent. I had to take them in confidence. They are confused and angry that their granny wants to separate them from dad. I have not told them the reason. They would hate her. I just told them that granny was accusing me of being a bad father and that I was not taking good care of them, which was the official claim. They gave the statement against her claims and testified that I was doing my best as a single parent. Yes, something significant also happened during this time. I think I forgot to mention that I was paying the household bills for my mother-in-law after my father-in-law passed away 4 years back. Yes, I was paying her bills all these months while she was busy backstabbing me with the legal suits. While my father-in-law was alive, he used to get a pension. He was a government employee, but after he passed away, the pension stopped. He didn't have substantial wealth apart from the house, so my wife took the responsibility of taking care of my mother. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law are also there, but they didn't volunteer. I continued to honor my wife's commitment after her death and continued to pay for my mother-in-law's household bills. When she dragged me to court a second time, and this time for custody of my children, I stopped being a saint and cut off the monthly bills I was paying for her. That was like stepping on a tiger's tail. She came down hunting for me. She never appreciated that I took her responsibility despite her daughter being gone. But when I stopped it, she was furious. She called me mean. Her point was that I had my wife's trust fund and all her jewelry, so I was responsible for taking care of her. Really? Does this make sense to any of you? I said I was done giving the freebies and getting nothing in return. She pledged to take away my kids and destroy me. She was under the delusion that she would get custody of my children, yet I would continue to pay the child support and her household bills. Just wow. I told her she could do whatever she wanted, but I would not let my kids slip into her hands. It was such a relief for me and my children when I finally won the custody battle. My children actually witnessed the trauma I had been through. They told me that they decided to cut off Granny from their life. I never wanted this to happen, but she had brought this on herself. I tried to talk them out of this and made them understand that Granny is not evil, but had a different perspective than us. They didn't buy this. In fact, they told me, "Dad, you are just too naive." Update 4. Life has been very busy these days, especially work-wise. I was not able to concentrate on my work after the tragedy hit my life. My business partner had been handling this all alone. Now when everything is settled, I'm trying to compensate for my absence. My children have become more responsible. They are able to take care of themselves so well. I feel so proud of them. On some days when I go home late, they make dinner for me. I couldn't be happier and grateful to them. My wife had really raised them so right. I had almost forgotten about this thread all the while, until someone responsible for the initiation of this thread showed up at my door a few days back. Yes, mother-in-law showed up out of the blue. I greeted her and called her inside. My kids were in their room. I went upstairs to call them and also asked them to be polite to their granny. She started sobbing while hugging them. She said she was sorry for everything. I didn't tell her anything in front of the children. When they went back to their room, mother-in-law said sorry to me. I told her that she had really hurt me. She turned against me when I needed her the most. I confronted her that I had always respected her, even after knowing her true intentions behind the 2 legal suits. She wanted my wife's wealth. The court case was not out of concern, but out of greed. She kind of acknowledged it. She held my hand and cried out loud. She said she was too distraught losing her daughter, and in that situation, she did whatever her elder daughter asked her to do. So it was my sister-in-law who had been instigating mother-in-law to sue me and get my wife's possessions. I asked her why was she telling me all this now. She said now she understood everything and everyone. After I stopped paying her bills, my sister-in-law and brother-in-law assured her that they would take care of her and provoked her to fight the court case with me. But when she lost, they turned their backs and abandoned her. When she asked them to help her, they mocked her and asked her to plead with me. The thing is, they were jealous of my wife because she got her uncle's trust fund and her grandmother's family heirloom jewelry. My wife got them because she deserved it. She was a kind woman. She nursed her uncle. She nursed her ailing grandmother, and that's when she got to own their possessions. The strange part was, they never showed their displeasure in front of my wife. They were all very loving and caring on our faces. I was shocked when mother-in-law revealed the truth to me. She said that she had also failed to see through their motive. Their actual motive was to get the trust fund and the jewelry from me, and then later divide it amongst them. She kept saying sorry. I told her that I had forgiven her and that we should move on from the bitter past. She asked for financial help. I told her that I could only help her but not take the entire responsibility of hers as I used to take. She was upset. I clarified that I had 2 children to raise, their college and then their future. I had to secure my retirement as well. I had no one to support me in case something went wrong with my business. I was never worried about money when my wife was around. Even though her salary was insignificant compared to my earnings, yet she was my backbone. Now I have none. She said she understands. She pleaded with me not to separate my children from her. I said I would never do that, but the children have witnessed the custody case firsthand, and they didn't feel good that their granny wanted to separate them from their father. But I assured her that my children are mature, and they would eventually forgive her and love her the way that they used to. They just need some more time and lots of love. She agreed. I asked her to stay back for the dinner. We had dinner together with the children, and it was good to have her back in my life. I spoke to my lawyer about it. He asked me to be careful about the money matter. He warned that it could be a cooked-up story to extort money from me, as she was unable to get a penny from the 2 court cases. She might be using emotions to get it. I'm cautious with her now, not emptying my pockets without thinking. My primary concern is now raising my children and securing their future. I want them to excel in their career. My wife wanted them to be well-educated and secure a professional degree. I'm looking forward to supporting them in every way I can. My friends encouraged me to start seeing women, but I don't think I'm ready yet. I don't want to get into it just for the sake of having someone in my life. Like I said, my primary focus at this point is my children's future and my work. Thanks for all the love and support. Love you guys.